Hey, what's up, everybody? Justin with Joe Outdoors here, along with my cohort, Chad. What's up, Chad?
How's it going, everybody?
We're super excited today to be coming to you with a couple of guys from Creek and Timber Legacy. We're going to make it quick. We're going to get into this fast because we got a lot to talk about. We did a lot of background here. You guys have seen Chet Outdoors. He's been on with us, and we got Chris here as well. But we're going to start with a quick intro. So let's do this. We've had Chet on before, so we're going to let him go first. Plus, I got to do this. It's this side. Here we go. In honor of it, I had to do it. I had to throw the Chet Outdoors cool thing I got here. But
all right. Yeah, I appreciate that. I got mine on too, so we're like, these are the new. Oh, I guess it's backwards.
Yeah, get you
T-shirts. Yeah, it got me. The camera there, but yeah, I got T-shirts. So
real quick, man. Hit everybody with a background. We've had you on before, but we got new listeners, new subscribers, all that good stuff. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so my full name is Chris Chetty. I go by Chet since my last name's Chetty. It's too long to pronounce typically, but it's like a third generation nickname. Grew up in a small town north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's called Beaver Falls. It's about 45 minutes outside of the city. Cool area. I went to school there until I graduated high school there, obviously, and then went into the military outside of high school. So I spent 6 years in the Army. I deployed with my unit in 2016. And then when I got back, just long and skinny here, I went to school, got my EMT, worked on the ambulance for on and off for 3 or 4 years. And while I was doing that, I was going to nursing school full time. I did an accelerated program, so it was instead of 4 years or 2 years, whatever, it was 13 or 14 months in a hospital in downtown Pittsburgh. So straight out of school, I hopped into the ICU in a level 1 trauma center in Pittsburgh and got some experience there. And then the infamous COVID popped off, so I started travel nursing and pretty much haven't looked back. I've hit a few states. I've worked pretty much my timeline is I work 11 months of the year and I take September off so I can bow hunt. So and that just kind of leads into I have a sister, obviously a mother and father. Grew up with them, and my dad, he's the one that taught me how to hunt and fish, and pretty much have just been growing on that and teaching people around me and friends and other family and stuff. And then fast forward, that's kind of what led into the Chet Outdoors thing. Is it turned into a little blog on Facebook. I was just me and him would my dad would go out and we muskie fish back home, so totally different game than trout, and catch a lot of big muskie, fish some tournaments, and figured, I had a lot of people who were like, hey, do you sell anything? Do you make lures? So then I started diving into these hobbies where I'm making lures and just started typing up little blogs what we did that day, how we caught them, where we caught them, this and that. And then it evolved into my Instagram I had to delete 800 posts that I've had from the time I was 15, and then transforming it into Chet Outdoors, which, as you can see, I've made some apparel and, I've been kind of taking a small step into the hunting, fishing industry. So there's a few companies that I've been working with and doing some stuff with and for. Currently right now I'm in Loveland, Colorado. So working out here at Medical Center of the Rockies in their ICU. I've been out here, been in the Colorado area for almost 2 years, but in this hospital for 8 months now. And my contract, it runs up until September, and then I got some cool things happening in September we can talk about here later.
Awesome. So just so everybody at home gets it right, we ran into you through Instagram, right? I don't even remember how that went down. I think it was probably that.
I don't know.
Probably that picture of the cat that you got, and I was like,
okay.
That's probably where it started, because we're at the same time we were looking at Wolf's cat, and we saw yours, so we hooked up, and we had you on for a live, and now we've been out fishing. We've got a podcast and a live under our belt. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, right on.
Cool. All right, let's flip over here to Chris. Go ahead, man. Hit us up here with Creek and Timber Legacy, and you got a whole slew of background as well.
Sure thing. Before we get on to that, I just got to bring up that damn cat that you're about, dude. The amount of hassle that I had to go through. So he got it mounted in Delta, Colorado. I'm originally from Grand Junction. It's about 5 hours west of where we all live here now. So, dude, getting that thing back from over there back over to here was the biggest hassle I've ever had. I should have charged Chris an arm and a leg for that one.
Were you with him on the hunt, or just for the?
No. It just I was going back to visit some family, so I told him I'd pick it up. But of course, because I've got a big, 2500, so it shouldn't have been a problem. But of course, my transmission went out. So then, just snowball problem after problem, and that mount that he's got is huge. So, but yeah, otherwise, I'm Chris. Like I said, so I was originally born in North Carolina, over in Fort Bragg. Both my parents were in the military. Eventually moved over to Grand Junction, Colorado, where I grew up. Never hunted till I was an adult, but grew up fishing a lot, just living in the outdoors. I was a kid where, I'd leave my mom a note on like Friday night, and I would just disappear until Sunday evening, and I would go snowshoeing in the mountains or whatever, and like a little pin on a map for her. But joined the military to be like my dad, right? He was a Ranger qualified airborne guy, and that's infantry dude. That's what I wanted to be. And he knew better for me. He wouldn't let me go that route. So I tried like 6 other similar type of jobs until finally I landed on being a medic. Wow. And fell in love with being a medic, man. I did that for a couple years, did a rotation in Afghanistan, had a bunch of guys that I looked up to and revered a lot, told me I should try and go to selection and try out for special forces. So I did. Came out successful. It was a miserable 3 years where I learned more than I ever thought you could learn in a lifetime. And so then I got to come back here to Colorado and live and work. I ended up getting wounded in 2019. I was shot 4 times and blown up a couple times and things like that. And ended up, so now I'm transitioning out. But after I was wounded, there were plenty of, during my recovery, plenty of organizations that want to take guys out hunting and things like that. And they were fun. And that's what got me into big game hunting. And once I got a taste of that, I was in. Now I've almost exclusively archery hunted the last 2 years now. And
nice.
That's where it's at for me now. I just can't get enough of it. I did a hunt with Creek and Timber Legacy back in 2021, and it was a great experience. But the one thing that separated that experience from all the others that I'd had from other organizations is other organizations just get a hunt and then sent me on my way with a mount and some meat. And Dustin, our founder, he wouldn't leave me alone after the hunt. He kept talking to me like he wanted to be my friend or something. I'm like, what is going on here? And, that group of guys. So now 2 of us from that hunt started up our own division. So I started one in Colorado, and Randy, they're actually at the Total Archery Challenge right now over in Pennsylvania. And they started one up in PA. This last 2 years has just been, super exciting and lots of personal growth and professional growth as well. It's been great.
Nice, man. Well, I think before we go any further, I know where Chad stands on this, but we obviously got to say thanks to both you guys for what you're doing, man, and what you have done. We didn't have the balls to do it, I guess, or even the pathway. It just wasn't something that was presented to us, I guess. But obviously, we appreciate what y'all have done.
Yeah. No, man, thanks. I appreciate that, especially nowadays. It's kind of it's still there. It's nothing like what guys had after Vietnam, but it's definitely not what it was at, like 2010 or earlier, I mean, so it means a lot.
You travel in the right cruise and you'll get the respect and the gratitude that you deserve. I think obviously there's a weird split going on, but like on this side of the equation with us, nothing but gratitude, man. And,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Heavy stuff, man. Let's get past that. So I know in the past, right? We had Chet on. We talked about a couple of hunts. I'd love to talk to both of you. I think kind of what we want to always do is talk about some of the great stories, some of the great hunts, some of the great fish. And I don't know much about what you've got, Chris, because I haven't seen it. Because again, we've got Mr. Influence over here, Chet Outdoors, so I've seen his stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't we start there, man? Let's recap a little bit. Maybe that cat, and or pick your best hunt. We'd love to hear about it.
Oh, my best hunt,
or your most exciting, or whatever you think. 'Cause I know the cat was kind of short, right?
Say that again.
The cat was kind of a short hunt.
It was very short. We could talk about that. I wouldn't say actually my best hunt or most fun, exhilarating hunt. I didn't even kill anything. My dad did. It was the coolest hunt I've ever been on. But yeah, I could talk about the cat real quick. So that'd have been 2021. Yeah, January of 21. I went to. I actually saw a Facebook post, and it was an outfitter. So Bull Basin Outfitters, shout out to them too. They run an awesome operation. They hunt out of Kremling, is like kind of their base station.
Nice.
And I saw a post that they had a cancellation hunt. So what they normally charge for a cat hunt, I got a pretty nice discount on. So I hopped on the wagon, and I was like, it was January. I was like working eight shifts on, 8 nights in a row on, and 6 off. So it worked out perfectly. I talked to my boss. I'm like, hey, you should maybe like set my schedule up to where I have these 6 days off so I can go kill a mountain lion. She was like, all right.
You should maybe set my schedule this way. Thanks.
Yeah. So that worked out with work, and yeah, I hopped in the car at like 10 p.m. and it was weird. So in Colorado we have units. So throughout the state, it's broken up into individual units, and each unit encompasses different things like trophy, quotas. So that's a big thing with mountain lion is the quota system. So in the unit I hunted, I think it was 36 or 37 out of Kremling. That encompasses like 9 different units. So, I mean, all the way up into like northeast and northwest Colorado. So 9 units and 36 cats. So that's the quota for that specific area is 36. It seems like a lot, but it's really not. It goes by super fast. So I hop in the car, and what you do every night is you look at the CPW website, and it'll tell you the active after 4 p.m. It'll load you the quota, what the quota is at. And I look, and it's at 36 out of 38 or 39. And I was like, oh, man. And it was snowing. So that was like another problem. I didn't have my Jeep. I had this like Jeep Cherokee or whatever. I was driving a car. I was like, this is going to be rough. So I make it out there by like midnight. I text the guide, and I was like, hey, man, I made it, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, did you happen to see the quota? I'm like, yeah, I guess tomorrow has to be the day, the first day. He's like, yeah. So he texted me back, and super nice guy. He's like, usually I wake up at like 3 or 4 a.m. I hop on my snowmobile and start riding our spots, and I cut tracks, and then, we'll go hit that in the morning and, let the dogs loose. But he was like, since this is, last minute buzzer beater hunt here, I'm going to go out right now. It was like midnight. The dude stayed out all night for me, just beat the trails with the snowmobile. I think he cut probably, 4 or 5 different lions in 3 or 4 hours. Text me, and he was like, hey, man, I found a huge lion tracks, super fresh. Like, I kicked it with my snowmobile. I'm going to pick you up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Shows up, picks me up, and we cut those tracks. Actually, it was a separate lion. The line that he wanted to take me to, the roads were so bad that we couldn't even get there to even take the snowmobile. So we found the line that I ended up getting, and I think we pulled up to the spot at 8 a.m. and I was tagged out by 8:45.
Crazy.
So he released the dogs on the tracks, and I've never worked with hounds before. It was one of the coolest things. Those dogs are ruthless, like just little blue ticks.
Yeah.
Like a mountain lion would swallow that thing in like 2 bites, but yet they're wild. I think he had like half a dozen or 7 of them, and treed the line. And we're up on this ridge, and I look down and I see the dogs. Once they start, you can kind of tell by the way they're barking when they get close to the lion. And yeah, all of a sudden I see this cat just run up this tree, and it was like game on. So
Nice.
went down there and 30-yard shot and dropped it.
Nice, man. So one of the things that we try to do with the cast, right, is we present ourselves as professional outdoor amateurs, which you guys definitely saw while I was fishing. Dumb questions, right? You're talking about cutting tracks, and I, we've got a lot of listeners, I hope, that are going to be guys just like us. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so what that means, and this can be with any animal, but specifically with the mountain lion, with the so mountain lions typically, you really don't see them in the daytime too much. They're they probably see you, but you don't see them type of animal. But at night, that's when they're really hunting. They're predators. And what you do by cutting tracks is you're running the trails on a snowmobile, and or like a side by side or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're looking for mountain lion tracks that are going like across the trail somewhere. And the word cutting the tracks means kind of like you're stopping and you're going after them.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's the same with like any animal. Like you shoot a bull or something, and you have a hard time tracking with blood. You can just follow their tracks until you get on
Like
them
I
or
said,
whatever.
we're always going to ask dumb questions because
Fair enough.
everybody's learning, man. That's part of what this whole thing is. That's why I want to talk to guys like you guys, and get that information out there and make sure that I don't have to go Google it, because then I feel really dumb. What is cutting tracks?
Well, it's kind of hard
The term I like to use is aggressively average.
Aggressively average outdoorsman. I actually like that better. Chad, we're changing everything.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
It's kind of our claim to fame, because then that way people don't expect a whole lot from us. So,
Exactly.
There you go. Yeah.
We're also professional amateurs when it comes to podcasting, which is nice for us as well. So the expectations, the bar's down here, not up here.
Yeah.
So,
No stress.
all right. So we got your best hunt with your dad, and we didn't get to there yet, right?
Oh yeah.
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 I want to hear that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite hunt that I've done so far. So when fast forward like September, we elk hunt every September, and then 1 week out of September, my dad flies out or drives out, and that's our thing. We hunt the rut for elk together, and so it's usually like the third-ish week of September, and this would have been 2020, and or 21, I forget, 2020 or 2021, and we were up in the spot we hunt, and we were at this kind of weird, the first 2 miles of the trail. So it's about a 4 or 5 mile hike up, but the first like mile or two of the trail, they had a real bad beetle kill. So it killed all the trees. And then like 3 days later, they had like one of the worst windstorms ever up in northern Colorado. And it knocked every tree over. Like, it was insane. So the pro of that was like the trail was so blocked that horses couldn't get up there, and guys that normally guide or hunt up in this area did not.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also at the exact same time as the Cameron Peak fire and the Mullen fire, which is on the Wyoming border.
Yep.
So we hike up. It took us what normally takes us like hour and a half or 2 hours to hike up. I think it took us 5-7 hours to get up there. And we get up and pitch our tents, and it was like 45, 50 mile an hour winds. It was bad. And we're on this hillside, and very first evening, man, called us bull in right into camp. Like, we're 50 yards from camp. Ended up not getting it. He takes off, and then we were just covered in elk like every day up in this area. And the success rate for the unit is like 3% maybe for archery. It's one of the worst units statistically, but we kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
And the very last day, so we were chasing bulls all day. It was so cool. They were bugling. We were having a bugle fest with all these animals, and jump this herd, nice bull in it, and it takes off. When we get back up to camp, we hike down probably 1,000 feet in elevation. We're kind of whooped. Get up to camp, and our flight was on I want to say it was on a Sunday, and this was a Friday. So we were like, before we even started the hunt, we were like, Saturday morning is the morning we can't pack up and we'll hike down, and we can hunt our way down, but we can't hunt that evening or we'll miss our flight. There's no way. So that was kind of like our end of the line there, no matter what. Long story short, it's Friday afternoon now, late afternoon, and I look up at this ridge, and it is just looks so treacherous, man. It just looked nasty. And I looked at them, and I was like, those elk are in there. I was like, we got to go. I was like, why don't, instead of sleeping here overnight and leaving in the morning, why don't we pack our entire camp up? So, our packs were full, 70 pounds worth of gear. I was like, let's hike over to that ridge. And I was like, we'll bushwhack it all the way down. There's a trail that intersects, and then we can just hike to the truck. So I'll be damned, man. We hop in that first drainage, and as soon as we even step in there, it's just like the wind that was happening for the last like 5 days, like completely stopped. The sun came out, and we like look right in front of us, and there's 20, 30 elk just bedded down.
Oh man.
And all we see though is cows and spikes. And I wanted him to shoot an elk, so I'm standing behind him. I'm like, just shoot whatever, but shoot a cow. We just want meat, And I didn't see it, but he sees it. He looks over this little knoll, and we see these tips of these antlers thrashing a tree. And I was like, oh man, this is going to get interesting. So we drop our packs, and we're, roughly, I think 60 yards from the closest bedded elk to us. And it was cool. We were like binocularing them, and they were like, you would watch them close their eyes and like head drop and fall asleep. And we had good wind, which is the key to elk hunting. And we were trying to figure out how can we get this bull to come in, because he was like, from where we were at, probably 100 yards, 150 yards, but he was over this little knob. You couldn't even see him, just the tips of his antlers.
Yeah.
And I bust out my cow call, and I just light cow call, and all these cows get up, and like, this bull starts screaming, and all the cows get up and walk to him, which it was like, I don't know if that's what I was intending for, to happen. I don't know if I was even thinking, but it worked out perfectly. Every elk that was bedded in front of us got up and went to their herd bull, and I start challenge bugling this bull. So super aggressive, short, like screams, and this bull, you could hear him grunting, spitting, like peeing on the tree. He was raking.
Yeah.
So I grab a stick, and I start busting branches and making noise, that I wanted to, fight him basically. And basically my dad's like, starts walking forward towards the elk, because he could hide. He could just kneel down below that knoll, and just all he had to do is creep up over that little knob and just send an arrow. And I kind of flanked down to the right where those elk were, like the cows were, because I figured their scent should mask me just a tad. And I get down there and start bugling, and I watch my dad draw back, and then he lets go, like doesn't shoot. He like releases his bow, and I was like, man, then all of a sudden he draws back, and I hear schwack. Just, then he's jumping up and down, and I get over there, and it was like, I turned into the dad. It was kind of funny. So, he's jumping up and down. He's like, I just smoked that elk. I watched it wheel feet over head down the hill or up the hill or whatever. I'm like, okay. So we start looking, but there were so many elk, there were tracks everywhere. You couldn't track anything. So I'm like, where'd you shoot it at? He's like, I don't know. He was like super excited. So I turned into dad mode. I was like, all right, man, go back to where you drew back. Show me the tree he was at. I walk over there, and this tree was just destroyed. It smelled like elk urine. I find the arrows, complete pass through. I pick it up. There's bubbles on it. I'm like, yeah, you lunged this. Looks like good blood. And then, sure enough, that bull ran, I think, 35 yards from where he shot. It was a 65-yard, pass through double lung shot, and that's where the fun started. So it took us. It was 10 p.m. I remember it was 10 p.m. when we stopped, we finally had it completely skinned and quartered out, hanging in the tree, and so it's pitch black up there. And then I'm like, hey, like, you realize we have to pack our gear down because our packs are full. There was zero room for meat. We could have maybe strapped a quarter onto the outside, but the hike was miserable. It was a pretty dangerous hike straight down the way we went because there's no trails where we hunt. There's only one trail that goes up, and it was 2 miles to our west, and we or to our south, sorry. And so I get on this Facebook group. This is like super cool. That one of the coolest things I like about Colorado elk hunters is I get on this Facebook chat or group. There's 30,000 people in the group. I post a picture of the dead bull. I'm like, hey man, we're stuck in this area. Is there anybody that lives nearby? We'll pay you. Would you be able to help us pack this elk out, because it's going to take us probably 2 days? And it was kind of warm, so we didn't want to ruin any meat. And sure enough, within 20 minutes, I had a guy calling me, and we made it down to the truck, and they were the fella and his 3 nephews were all waiting for us. And I dropped my pack and filled up on water, and I headed up the mountain with them. And we packed that bull out from midnight until, I don't think we had it completely packed out until 2 p.m. the next day. It was just nonstop.
Oh wow.
It was pretty horrible, but those are the type of hunts that make the most memories, I think. And got it down and got the job done, and took it to the butcher and had 300 pounds of elk meat it lasted almost a year and a half.
That's awesome.
And then we got 2 more elk this year, so this past season.
Dude, that's a cool story. Facebook thing is kind of mind blowing to me. Luckily you're in a spot to get on it, right?
Yeah, I know. And a lot of guys were like, "Man, you're just blowing your spot," and it was like, no, you still won't figure out where I'm at, for one, and two, the guys that show up, I'm still good friends with them. I hunted with some of them. One of the nephews last season, his name's Kason.
Nice.
Lives by me in Loveland. We're good friends, and it turned into like lifelong relationships just from a Facebook post and packing elk meat out. So yeah,
pretty awesome, man. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to Chris. Same questions.
All right.
Like you said, you haven't been hunting a whole long time, right? Or did I catch that correctly?
Yeah, so I started in 2019, but I don't know, it's kind of dark behind me, but I've had some pretty good success. I've got a handful of elk, archery and rifle, and then a couple of antelope and deer also. So I mean, once I caught the bug, I mean, that's all I could do. Was shed hunting in the spring, scouting all summer, developing spots, and now I've got my own honey holes, and I've got my own group of friends. We never go out hunting together, but we're really good about finding each other in the woods. It's pretty, so or rarely anyway, do we say, hey, I'm going to this spot, like, see you there or whatever. It's just, I'll be hunting and I'll see a guy through my blind. Like, that's Tom. What's Tom doing over there? So then we'll end up hunting together. So
super cool. So you've only been at it for 4 years, and you got some good, I can see it behind you. We can see it earlier, especially in the green room. So what's the best hunt, man?
Let's see. The best hunt is probably last year's. It was my second archery bull, and it's definitely my biggest. It's not on the wall back there. It's I don't have any vaulted ceiling, so that one doesn't fit. But that one was probably the best because I had been going hard, any chance that I could get. Going hard, crappy weather, good weather, just hunting for a solid 2 weeks. And then finally, like, good weekend where weather broke. I was like, this is the day I'm going to go. Get out there, Saturday morning, a little bit later than I wanted to. Sun wasn't quite up yet, but it was just over the horizon. And I mean, all the elk in that area were just blowing off. So I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly where I want to be. The only problem is I was already behind them. And they were moving west and I was already east of them, you know, so I'm having to like sprint and catch up to them basically. And I eventually wound up glassing one. He was moving kind of slow, just doing his own thing, living his life, bugling here and there. And I was able to run up this ridge line and get a hold of him. And, you know, I started raking and he came in, which was great, but he was still coming in kind of soft. Like they had started bugling and everything, but they weren't rutting. Like they weren't quite there yet. And he came up to me. I had a kind of a decent lane, but lots of sticks and things in the way, right? He was at just over 50 yards. So I drew back behind this tree, kind of crept out around. He was looking right at me. And I was like, okay, this is your shot. And I took one of the most perfect shots of my life. And of course, the little branch that you can't see, that one little twig, like 30 or 40 yards out, I ended up hitting that and my arrow went flying and the elk didn't move at all. He just stood there perfectly, like just waiting for me. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, composed myself, like took that breath and was like, okay, time to calm down and actually hunt this animal. And by the time I got another arrow knocked, he had already started moving and we were in scrub oak and like pinions. So he couldn't really see me. I could just see the tops of his tines moving through the oak. And, you know, I'd get a lane and I'd pop out and I'd see him. And I mean, he was standing again, broadside, just perfect. His head was behind a tree. I had great shot of his vitals. So I go to draw back just as I get settled in to like get my sight picture and take that shot. He just takes that one step forward and that tree is right in front of his vitals. Like, okay, like, you know, this went on for like an hour of me just being within, you know, 50 to 20 yards of him and just following him along for 150 or 200 yards until eventually I was able to like peek up on top of this little like bouldery rock thing and like reach up above the scrub oak through this and he stepped out and I took my shot and he went down 5 yards later. I mean, there was no tracking involved. He ended up you know, expiring like 100 yards from another road. So I quartered him out, hung him up in a tree. I hiked back to my truck and drove around to where he was. And it was the easiest pack out of my life, biggest elk.
So
I was only out there for like 3 hours that day.
No need for a Facebook page post. You were getting
Exactly. I just would throw the quarter over my shoulder and hike it out. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better day, you know. And then I got to go to kids' soccer game and hang out and play with kids. With I didn't even make it to the butcher by that time. I went to the kids' soccer game, and I'm the one weirdo with like just elk head and like hooves hanging out of my cooler at the park. Everybody's
all
like
bloody.
coming by to like touch. Yeah, exact blood all over my hands, still camoed. People loved it though. They were wanting to talk to me about it, and you know, kids were wanting to like touch the elk and things. So it was nice. It was nice little like, you know, hunter's outreach.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So it was good. That was probably like my best personal experience. But I'll say my the next thing that rivals that is probably the first hunt that I ran with Creek and Timber. That was Chris's recipient hunt, actually, and that was January of this year. And it was a hunt. You know, it was nothing super exciting to write home about. We were hunting Canada goose, and there was no snow goose or anything like that. And we got a handful. It was a good hunt, but man, the camaraderie in that pit and just the different conversation that there was an old Mac V Sog guy. His name was John, and the stories that he would tell from his time in Vietnam were just like mind-boggling. I mean, just blown away. And every time he'd like tell a story, he's like, you don't want to hear about an old man who's you know, who's running on and whatever. I'm like, dude, this is history that isn't written down. Like, please tell us more.
Yeah, tell me. Definitely want to hear. That's
so that was super cool.
It's a good segue, man, because like we wanted to talk the hunts and we always want to get those cool stories in, right? But the real reason we're here is, you know, Creek and Timber legacy. We're real interested in learning more about that, you know, the organization and kind of what y'all do. And, you know, I had a great opportunity to go out with both of you, right? Which I think might be a little taste of what Creek and Timber probably does, right? And actually, you know what? We'll
Yep.
take a minute. We've got some video from that thing, man. So why don't we go ahead and watch that real quick?
Let's do it.
That was an awesome day, man. You guys set me up with an opportunity to go fishing. Chad was supposed to be there. Chad, what happened? Weather.
He bailed on us.
He
Yeah.
bailed on us. Now, I wouldn't say that. I was on the phone with him on the drive out there, but the weather was terrible. Like
It was.
Yeah.
How many days
Yeah, it was
a week
rough.
had we had shitty weather at that point, man? I mean,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10, and so we had runoff plus rain plus just it was cold.
Hurricane season in the mountains, man.
Well, there was snow too, man. But
Yeah.
it was a good time, and I had a blast, right? So we kind of pitched to you guys again, professional outdoor amateurs, and I liked the part where I showed up and I was there before you guys, and I was getting ready, and then you show up, Chet, and you're like, "I'll tie your flash." That was great, man. Much appreciated. Sorry I lost them all.
That's what they're made. They're made to lose.
They're made to lose, but the CFS was high. You fished that spot in the Big Tommy quite a bit, right? And I think Chris, right? You didn't get anything, did you?
I ended up catching one.
Did you?
Did.
Okay, so
Yeah.
My bad.
No, that's all right. That's all right. It was pure luck. We'll call it pure luck.
Well, the one I did get to see was the one that Chet grabbed, right? Which was kind of nice over off that boulder area on the second stop they were at. So again, I got to kind of experience, with you guys, what it's like to just get out and experience that camaraderie that you talked about, that Creek and Timber offers, right? And I think I don't know who wants to jump in here, but I think we need to get a background on Creek and Timber Legacy, what the organization does, and how to get involved, all that good stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. I got you there. So Creek and Timber Legacy was actually originally founded down in Texas. Through Dustin and Shannon. They're great guys. They started up after taking some veterans out on a dove hunt, and they describe it as the worst hunt that they'd ever been on. Right? He said they basically shot nothing. But they had one of the veterans, one of the recipients of that hunt that they took out there, just talked to them about how great it was, how much fun he had, how it had kind of changed his perspective on life and what was going on, and that really opened their eyes to it's better than just it's about more than the harvest, So they put their noses to the grindstone and started building Creek and Timber more and more until I think I mentioned earlier I went on that one hunt down in Arkansas. It was a snow goose hunt, and it was great. They wouldn't leave me alone after, they wanted to be friends. And that's something that I'd never experienced before. Usually it's just, hey, here's a fun weekend. Now go about life as usual, good luck out there. And Creek and Timber did it differently. So I stayed in contact, and then we created this out here in Colorado just last year in 2022. And now here we are. We've had a couple of hunts under our belt, turkey, goose. We've got a fly fishing trip coming up later on this month here in June.
Cool.
And some other things. But otherwise, it's a great organization. Really focus on veterans and first responders alike, taking them out hunting and fishing. And really we'll do, like, whenever we do our experiences, we'll take people out in a Airbnb. Everybody kind of stays together. We do, family meals and hang out and talk. And it's a bunch of guys in an unfiltered environment where they get to talk about their experience in whatever manner that they want to. It's like in the trust circle or in the trust tree. And guys and gals alike, right? I say guys because I'm a guy, and if we have a women's experience, it's all women. There's no men there to create some kind of weird dynamic. And same thing, our guys' experiences are just guys. And it's great. People open up and they talk about what's going on, and it's a big weight off your shoulder. And then even now, I still stay in contact with all of our recipients.
Cool.
So it's really, I mean, you can look us up on all the platforms at Creek and Timber Legacy, and then also creekandtimberlegacy.org. Colorado specific is /Colorado-division. And yeah, there's the QR code for you right there.
Yeah, hit that. Definitely get in there, follow them, visit the website. We do have the Instagram. We'll post that later. I still have some questions though. So is Creek and Timber right now regional, national? Where are we at?
So we are growing to be national, right? We have 3 separate divisions spread across the nation. The parent division, the home division, that's based out of Dallas, and that's kind of their area of operations, if you will, is like Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, kind of that area.
Okay.
Out here in Colorado, it's probably accurate to call us the Mountain West Division, right? So all the mountain states between Canada and Mexico is kind of what where we offer our experiences.
Okay.
And then our Pennsylvania division is same thing. They've got hunts going on. Actually, they just did a moose raffle for up in Maine, and all the way down into like Ohio and Midwest type area.
Okay, so next question I got, you got a guy or a gal wants to get involved, wants to receive some of the love on these hunts or fish. What do? They just go to the website? Do they contact you directly? What do they got to do?
You're more than welcome to contact me directly, and I'll definitely plug you in with our contact team. That's definitely an option if you'd like. However, just go to the website, and you can do this on behalf of a loved one, right? If you have a husband or wife or somebody who's isn't, they're too proud to reach out. Certainly me, for the longest time, I was too proud to ask for help. Go on there and nominate them for an event, and our intake team will get a hold of them, do a quick interview, really, just to see what are their interests. If somebody hates fish and we throw them on a fishing trip, they're probably not going to have a good time, right? So we do like a little interview, kind of see what works out best and how we can play that out. And then same thing, if you want to volunteer, go up onto and look at our events that are coming up. We've got events going on throughout the year here in Colorado in July, I believe. Chet might have the exact dates off the top of his head. But we are planning a 3D event, and we will need some volunteers for that.
Awesome. And
then, of course, I got to put the plug. This was always awkward for me when I first got into this, because we're registered 501c3,
I'll make the plug, man.
It's awkward for me for money, right? But I'm getting over that hurdle and all that. Those are my 2 worst qualities. I'm cheap and I'm proud. So come in and ask it. But yeah, no, monetary donations are always welcome, and they do go a long way. And we have all the tax documents and everything that's required with that if that's something that a donor does need or want.
So I assume, right, you go to the website, there's a donate button. There's probably a donate through the QR code we just gave you. Obviously, you can provide a tax receipt, I assume, all that stuff. So we will definitely put that, below the show here, guys. Get in there, support groups just like this. This is like, to us, we understand the camaraderie. We understand, the support. We understand how this, it saves lives, man. We know that. It saves lives of folks that didn't serve. We know it saves lives of folks that did serve. So definitely get in there and do that. Chris, don't ever be afraid to ask for money, man. Just do
it. I'm working on it. It's taken me some time. It's just, that first time was the hardest, and then now we're getting better.
I get it. So, all right. So with Creek and Timber, then we basically covered most of it. We've got location, we've got where to visit to support.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about what I would say is the more fun side. You guys do hunts, you fish. How can someone get involved that maybe has some land or has an opportunity to provide to you guys, right? Because I know we have some resources, right, Chad, internally here at Joe Outdoors. We got some great places to hunt. We got some private land for fish. How do those guys get involved to support you guys?
Really, that's just a matter of talking with us and seeing what specifically you have that you want to offer, and then it's all about setting up an event, whatever dates and times work for you, and whatever you can offer or whatever a landowner can offer, landowner tag, or even just a free place to stay with, hey, you can, if you have points, you can hunt my land type of deal. We can always work something out. We're the type of people that are very rare. Is it just a flat out no? It's how do we get to yes? So that's
I know
it. Whatever ideas you got, we're willing to work with you and figure it out.
Cool. We just want to be able to facilitate all avenues, right? Here's the promotion of it. Here's what it is. Here's how you donate. And here's some resources, right, to help build that organization. And I know that internally, like I said, we have some guys that have access to land and probably could provide some event opportunity. We'll connect you with them directly. You guys will meet them anyways. Chris and Chet, you'll run into a couple of these dudes along the way here this summer in Colorado.
Bring them to our 3D shoot.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll put all that stuff below again, everybody. URLs, connection points. You can always reach out to Chad or myself. Or Joe Outdoors directly, and we'll connect you with these guys if you didn't catch where to connect with them at. So I guess at that point, are there any closing remarks on Creek and Timber that you want to drop? You got events coming up? Anything else you want to throw out there?
So if you're in the Dallas area, we've got a gala coming up in this fall. I think in October, if I remember correct. That information should be up on our. I don't want to throw out wrong days, anybody. So. Just check our events page on that website, and that's a good way to go about it. As far as here in Colorado, next spring we're going to be running a golf tournament. We tried to do a 3D shoot this year, and this just it just didn't develop the way that we wanted to. Sorry, not a 3D shoot, a clay shoot. And so next year we're going to just go with the safe bet and run a golf tournament. So next spring, start looking for that. Right now, if you're in the Total Archery Challenge up in Pennsylvania, go check out our booth up there.
Cool. All right. So at this point, I think we've covered what we wanted to get through on this episode. I'm sure both of you will be back at some point. I know everybody's going to see you all on a bunch of our hopefully upcoming videos where both of you teach us how to at least fish. What else can we talk about here that I guess, Chad, we like to end every episode with some advice. Both these guys are well above us.
Yeah.
Let's go to Chet first. What advice would you give to a first-time hunter, like to get started? Where do you start? Just where do you start, man? Like I've expressed a few times that I'm a rookie, man. I'm getting ready to try to go out this next year. What's the first thing you
do? Well, depends on what you're trying to go out and hunt for. First off, we'll just roll with big game. I think the biggest hurdle for a first time hunter is like probably the mental, like the anxiety of, like, for example, I'm looking up right now and I have pretty sick mountain view here. And if I was a first time hunter, I'd be like, how in the heck am I going to climb that mountain or go in there alone or find elk in such a big area or deer or whatever. So I think the first hurdle is like getting over the mental gap, the mental barrier, and just being willing to just go out. It's always an escape. I don't personally go to church on Sundays. I'm a believer, but I think, I always say that the woods is my church. So yeah, I think that's it. Just getting out, being physically in shape, being, willing to put in the time and the work to give yourself a better opportunity in the mountain is like probably the most important thing, in my opinion. And then, you know, if you have a buddy or family or a close one that you want to, you know, hunt with, and learn together and learn off of each other, that's like, you know, there's no better way, I think. And, you know, scouting in the off season is important. And, yeah, you know, it's not always about buying the nicest and, you know, coolest gear that's out. Sometimes you just got to put on the old Walmart mossy oak and throw it on and get in the woods and learn the animals, the behavior, and, you know, your own behavior around the animals and how you can stay close to them without them, you know, spooking. And, yeah, I think that's the advice I would give.
That's great. You know, Chet, there's one thing that I was going to ask you. So I watch all your Instagram posts and I watch all the, you know, cool pictures of the archery, and it's inspired me to, you know, I guess the draw snuck up on me pretty quick. So I went ahead and panicked and just picked archery. And I picked archery deer for the, I think it's 50, 500, and 501 for Conifer Bailey area.
Yeah.
And I just found out today that I got that draw for either
Nice.
section of deer. I didn't know that I would get it. I didn't think my chances were very good. And now I don't have a bow. So now I know what my next step is, you know, finding that and, you know, becoming accurate with it, getting out there.
Finding fast.
Yeah, real fast.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I think, in my opinion, and I'm definitely not anti-gun by any means. If you looked in my apartment right now, the ATF would be probably angry with me. But the bow, I mean, that's like what mankind grew up hunting with, you know, a string and a twig and killing big animals. And I don't think there's a more ethical way to kill an animal. You know, there's you pull the trigger and there's this loud, you know, kaboom, unless you know, have a suppressor or whatever. But generally speaking, you know, you have a loud boom and then that animal's spooked and it's, you know, running off of adrenaline. And it's weird, you know, people are like, you know, I shoot an animal with my, you know, 30-06 or 300 Win Mag and it just falls. But it's like, in my experience, you know, I've shot plenty of animals with guns and they run further than when I shoot an animal with an arrow. Yeah. I just think there's something about that where, you know, there's no sound. You're completely concealed usually, or behind, you know, in front of some cover, and you release an arrow and it goes through the animal, or, you know, however. And it's more of like a, what the heck just hit me, and then, you know, they you know, die, but there's no suffering unless, you know, you make a bad shot. That happens. But generally speaking, there's nothing that excites me more than bow hunting. So it's kind of where I've really pivoted and took hold on. But yeah, get yourself a bow, Chad, and I can help you out. Get you on these. I shoot 3D twice a week. Shooting some different tournaments. The Mountain Archery Fest is in actually 2 weeks, or next weekend. Next weekend actually in Durango. So I'll be making a 6-hour drive down there with the Hunt Lift Eat crew, and we'll be shooting the Mountain Archery Fest together. So
that's a good touch right there. So you touched on two things. One, I'm going to jump back, and you just brought their name up, HLE, Hunt Lift Eat, right? From your advice, what I'm hearing is get in shape so that you have a great outing no matter what, right? Because you can't make the hike, you can't make the walk, you can't. It's just stuck, and you're not going to want to do it again. That's a barrier to entry in my book for everybody. Yep. Secondary,
if you're not,
you got Chad, who's got to train right quick, and I think let's make sure you guys connect real quick, because you got some work to do, Chad, and we're already on the HLE program. We got you there. We got the fitness thing going. You have to get with Chet here on the archery.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. So let's jump over to Chris and let's wrap this up, because we're about to hit an hour, and this is like the back end of our time here. Chris, sure. 2019, you're back there again. What's the advice you would give yourself when you started, now that you're looking back?
Honestly, man, the easiest thing to pick apart is just how easy it is, especially if you're a social media kind of guy. It is easy to get caught up in the marketing and like, oh, I need this and I need that and I need this camo and this jacket costs $600 and this $3,000 scope and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, technology is so good nowadays. I mean, the cheap stuff is still better than what people were using 15, 20 years ago.
Yep.
So use what you have, and it's all a mindset thing. Eliminate excuses for yourself and learn as much as you possibly can. Probably the biggest influencing factor for me was my mentor. I had a mentor who, he was a good mentor, and there's definitely good and bad mentors. Guys that'll like, oh, we're just gonna go out and try and shoot something, and we'll drink beers every night and whatever. Or you can have that mentor that's like, nope, we're gonna go where people don't want to go, and we're gonna find that dark place in our mind, and we're gonna make a little nest in there, and that's where we're gonna start becoming comfortable. And if you can do that, if you can just get comfortable in that place, that dark little spot where it's like, I should quit, and all those like negative thoughts start coming in little by little. Once like, that just becomes comfortable for you. It's just like, yep, this is where I'm at. So, it's all a mindset. It's all a mindset thing. There's always going to be somebody that's bigger, faster, and stronger than me, but there's never going to be a person that's willing to outwork me. And if you can adopt that mentality and apply that to whatever your goals or your desires are, you're going to be successful in that goal. So most of us do. It's just we usually do it to a less than productive outlet, right?
Yeah.
So shifting that into a productive outlet, it'll change your life.
Awesome. All right, cool. So at this point, Chad, do you have any wrap-up questions?
I do have one. This is for you, Chet. Basically, we were talking about hacks that you could recommend for the average fly fisherman. I know I've learned one with the forceps, being able to, because my eyes are not that good, so I can twirl things around and I can tie the fly, and just when I think I'm at my best, it pulls right off of my hand. Justin said you had a pretty slick method of how to tie on flies.
That's why I asked you for flies, because I was like, dude, I'm taking forever. And both these guys are sitting here busting little forceps twist.
Yeah, get yourself some forceps. So usually they have a locking mechanism on the bottom half where you put your fingers in, and that's kind of a hospital type, a medical thing. They clamp things down with that, and so I maybe tactically acquired a pair of nice forceps from a hospital. So what you do is you thread, instead of, you put your fly line, you tip it through the eye of your fly, and instead of twirling it and trying to feed it with like sausage fingers like I have, I clamp the forceps on the hook, and I just 1/4 turn, that thing spins like 8-9 times, and then you just grab your the line that's not, that you would put through the loop, and just pull it, cut it, and you're good to go. And the best part about that is when you're in the water and you're trying to hold your rod, grab your flies, and tie at the same time without getting all your gear wet or dropping flies, is it's super easy. Like, you just tuck your rod under your armpit or waist or whatever, and it takes you get good at it, you can change a whole 3 flies out with completely new tippet in probably less than 5 minutes.
Here's the challenge. I'm going to lay it out now. Anyone on this cast, which is probably the two of you, because not us, do a quick video and show people how to do that, because I swear that thing's going to go to the moon everywhere. It's like, I know it's out there, but like, we just learned about it and we've both been fishing forever. So challenge is out there. Show us that one real quick.
Yeah. And the one I was, learned was kind of similar, but it just never holds true to me. I can take it, I can make my loop after passing it through the eye of the fly, and I take my forceps and put it right through the loop, and then I just twirl my forceps.
Oh, no.
That, and I still
don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I've done, and that's why flies are not there after I'm finished. So
Yeah. I think knots are always key in fishing and climbing. You don't want your knot to fail.
Right. All right. The challenge is out there. One of you two show us how to do that and just film it real quick.
Okay.
At this point, we're going to wrap it up, and we want to just make sure everybody can find both of you for all the things that you both do, right? So Chet, why don't you go first? Where are we going to find you at?
Yeah, so you can find me on my main platform is Instagram. It's at Chet_Outdoors. You can follow me there. DM me, whatever. I answer questions. I wouldn't say daily, but definitely weekly. People are DMing me stuff. And then Facebook was kind of like my little. It's like a personal blog. I post on it often, but not as much as Instagram. But it's at Chet Outdoors on Facebook. So
You better spell that real quick. Just
yeah, I'll give you the link. It's CHIRICHETTI and then Outdoors.
hence the reason they call you Chet. Got it.
Right, yeah, man. It's too Italian for most people.
Chris, how about you, man? We need you and we need Creek and Timber.
Sure thing. Creek and Timber's pretty just because it's Creek and Timber Legacy. And that's going to be, .org or, across all the platforms, we are Creek and Timber Legacy. If you want to email me directly, you can email me at chris@ctlegacy.org. And then I'm not a huge influencer Instagram guy. That's really the only platform that I do have, though. And that's just chris.wiz. So it's Chris, WHIZ. And that's really it.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure we put all that, in the information underneath this thing when it releases. And again, everybody, you can reach directly out to us where you found it, and we can connect you with these guys if you need to. Outside of that, we appreciate having you both on. Chad, closing words?
No, absolutely, guys. Thanks for joining us. It's always good to talk to you, and I will not miss the next trip, I promise.
Good.
Yeah, you're
good.
summoned.
Look forward to having you out there.
You've been summoned, man.
I will be there.
Good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. And we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody, for tagging along, and we'll catch you on the next cast.
Sweet.
Yeah, thanks
for
guys.
having us.
Appreciate talking to you.